I was in the middle of a training drill, showing a pair of green SWAT recruits how to breach a building without losing their heads, when my phone vibrated against my hip. Motion alert. Nothing unusual. The Remy place is rigged with cameras inside and out, a habit from years in law enforcement and a personal mission to catch porch pirates in crisp 4K. But when I opened the live feed, I nearly dropped the rubber knife in my hand. A flashlight beam cut across my living room wall. Someone was inside my house. At first, I figured it was a burglar, but then the camera adjusted, revealing a middle-aged guy in cargo pants and a vest stamped Community Patrol creeping past my bookshelf like he was infiltrating a cartel hideout. Two others trailed him, one in a fishing hat, another with a walkie-talkie clipped to her fanny pack. My gut twisted, not from fear, but from pure disbelief. It was Linda's fake security squad, and they'd just broken into the wrong damn house. Let me back up a bit. About 2 weeks before this home invasion masquerading as a neighborhood safety check, I'd been living a quiet life. My name's Matt, and I've spent the last 15 years training SWAT teams, federal agents, and elite security units. After years in the field, I shifted to teaching and consulting. Semi-retired, you could say. I bought a house in a sleepy suburb to unwind, raise my dogs, and escape the chaos of flashbangs at 2 a.m. The neighborhood was your typical picket fence setup, complete with newsletters about lawn care rules and approved paint colors. Most folks were decent, until Linda took charge. Lindano, last name required, was the textbook HOA tyrant, draped in a pastel sweater and a perpetual frown. She wore a laminated badge declaring her HOA chairwoman, carried a whistle she'd blast during trash day squabbles, and had the kind of ego usually seen in dictators. Her latest fixation? Creating a CIVYLN community safety task force. She insisted crime was spiking. What crime? Someone once forgot to bring in their bins on time. But to Linda, our cul-de-sac was now a war zone. She went all in, recruiting neighbors like she was building a suburban Justice League. Give her this. She was dedicated. She printed uniforms, khaki shirts with Velcro name tags, and neighborhood safety enforcer stenciled on the back. She handed out clipboards and ordered people to log suspicious activity, which ranged from flickering porch lights to tinted windows. Guess whose house topped her list? Mine. I kept to myself, sometimes running low-key training sessions in my backyard and lethal stuff, tactical theory, fitness drills. All legal, all legit. But to Linda, my blackout blinds, motion sensors, and locked shed screamed criminal mastermind. When I told her I worked with law enforcement, she scoffed. So, what? You're like a mall cop. I didn't bother correcting her. No point arguing with someone who thought HOA rules trumped the Constitution. Then came the first warning, a yellow slip taped to my door, labeled Notification of Voluntary Safety Inspection Request. Voluntary was in quotes. It warned that refusal could lead to escalation for the safety of residents. I crumpled it and tossed it. Thought that'd be the end. It wasn't. The night before the break-in, I caught Linda and two of her minions measuring my driveway with a tape measure. I stepped out, asked what they were doing, and she smirked, just checking setbacks. Some of us care about safety. You never know what's happening behind those blinds. I told her to get off my property. She acted like she didn't hear me. That brings us to the day it all went down. Seeing them in my living room on the feed, I went ice cold, not panicked, just calculating. How fast could I get home? Could I catch them before they bolted? Were they armed with something dumb like pepper spray or a thrift store taser? Linda's son, Jake, was a wannabe soldier who'd played too much Call of Duty and might try something reckless. I dismissed the recruits, told them training was canceled for a real-world scenario, then jumped in my truck, triggered the silent alarm app, and floored it. On the way, I called the cops, reporting trespassers in my home. I didn't mention my background yet, wanted it clean, wanted Linda to dig her own hole. I got home in 6 minutes, parked down the street, and slipped in through the back fence and garage. Inside, Linda and her crew were bickering in my kitchen about whether they could legally open my shed's locked door. One held bolt cutters. I flipped the breaker, plunging the house into darkness. They yelped. I called out, calm as if running a drill. You're trespassing on private property. Drop your tools, exit the premises, and lie on the ground. This is your only warning. Linda screeched about being authorized personnel, and Jake lunged for the hallway. I hit the strobe lights part of a training setup and he slammed into the wall, collapsing like a lawn chair. The others scrambled for the door, but I was already there, flashlight in their faces, directing them to get down one by one. Linda held out for 5 seconds, barking, "I know my rights." "Yeah," I said, "and you broke most of them tonight." She dropped the bolt cutters. 10 minutes later, the Real police arrived. I showed my ID, explained, and played the footage. The officers one-eyed trained stifled grins. Linda claimed she was investigating a potential threat under HOA authority. The cop glanced at me, then her, and said, "Matt trains my whole department. Did he invite you in?" I shook my head. Linda went quiet, her empire of Velcro badges crumbling. By the time the cruiser's lights lit up my driveway, Linda was pacing like a cornered animal, still gripping her clipboard as if it'd save her. Jake groaned on the floor, one shoe missing, looking like he'd lost a fight with a blender. Her other 2 lackeys, Susan and Greg, sat shell-shocked on my couch, realizing this wasn't just an HOA blunder, it was a crime. Lieutenant Harris, a guy I'd trained years back, stepped out of the first car, gave me a nod, and kept it professional. Linda stormed him. "Officer, thank God you're here. We've caught a suspicious NDVY duel hiding behind blackout curtains, training people in his yard. Arrest him." Harris didn't flinch. I played the footage, Linda's voice loud. "Cut the lock. I don't care if it's illegal. He's probably making bombs." The silence was golden. Harris crossed his arms. "So, you broke into a private home without a warrant, consent, or emergency cause?" Linda sputtered. "It was an HOA-sanctioned wellness check." I cut in. "You picked my gate lock, broke a camera with a broom, and entered with tools and weapons. That's burglary." Jake mumbled something incoherent. Susan sobbed. Greg feigned sleep. Linda's grip tightened on her clipboard as Harris radioed for backup. 3 trespassers, potentially armed, 1 injured, he said. Linda exploded. "This is harassment. You're siding with him because he trained you." Harris shot back. "No, I'm siding with him because I've got video of you breaking in with bolt cutters. You'd be cuffed already if this were anyone else." The second car arrived, and it sank in for them. Jake got a paramedic check and a ride in a cruiser with ice on his head. Susan and Greg were split for statements. Linda stood rigid, answering only what she had to, acting like she'd seen one too many legal dramas. Neighbors peeked out, jaws dropping as misses. Peterson from across the street sipped a martini and mouthed, "What the hell?" I shrugged. "An officer told me they'd file charges for unlawful entry and illegal weapons possession, asking if I wanted to press more." "Let the city start," I said. "I'll step in if she tries again." He nodded. "Smart. She'll do this again, I bet." Linda was escorted out, not cuffed, but warned to stay off my land. Her face was a mix of fury and shame, the look of someone who thought they were the star of the show, but just got caught robbing the set. As the cops left, neighbors asked, "She broke in?" "Yep, all on tape." "Mrs. Peterson muttered, "About time." I cleaned up, drawers rifled, furniture shifted, even the dog food opened. What were they expecting? A drug lab in the pantry? I spent the night organizing footage for the police, realizing Linda wasn't just a pest, she was a delusional menace with followers. Staring at the video of her flashlight sweep, I decided this wouldn't end with a report. She'd face real accountability, strategic, precise, the way I'd trained others to handle threats. The fallout hit fast. Within a day, a blurry video of Linda's exit with cops went viral in our neighborhood chat, captioned, "Linda's patrol busted breaking into SWAT guy's house." The chat erupted. People shared tales. Mr. Hayes said Linda accused his kid of spying with binoculars for a school project. A mom on Pine Street said her son was tailed for wearing a hoodie. Linda's reign of fear built on bylaws and intimidation cracked. People stopped cowering. Next day, a black SUV pulled up. My old buddy Ryan, now a Fed, stepped out, grinning. "Heard you threw a hell of a party." I showed him the footage, emails, and a binder Linda's crew left behind, a creepy log of neighbors' routines, photos snapped from bushes. Ryan's face hardened. "This isn't just a break-in. It's harassment, maybe illegal surveillance if HOA funds paid for it." I tipped off a local blog, and soon, HOA hero or trespassing tyrant hit Reddit's r/entitled people, racking up thousands of upvotes. The HOA board called an emergency Zoom. Linda claimed I'd and VY ted her that the footage was fake. They didn't buy it, especially not after hearing her yell, "Cut it open," on tape. Board members quit, fearing lawsuits. A formal probe into HOA funds and Linda's antics launched. Neighbors thanked me with cookies and relief. One gave me 2 years of HOA transcripts, proof of her overreach. With Ryan, I filed a city complaint targeting her fake patrol and power grabs. She'd learn what happens when you mess with someone who's trained half the county's cops. Sunday's emergency HOA vote, led by retired Navy JAG Ellen, ousted Linda as chair and banned her task force. She held a laughable press conference on her lawn, megaphone in hand, blaming shadow forces to an audience of 3 neighbors and a dog. The city fined her, barred her from HOA roles for a decade, and ordered an apology after a public hearing where I testified. She's not safe, dish a threat. Her lawyer-drafted apology came with a handwritten, "I was wrong." Her house went dark, her reign over. I add VY said the HOA on real Securitino badges, no Lindis. Now, the neighborhood's peaceful, and I'm just the guy who stopped her, sipping tea on my porch as kids biked by. She picked the wrong door, and it hit back hard.